The blame game has begun. Gillard and Tony Abbot have hit the airwaves, each accusing the other of scuttling offshore processing. Last night, the government announced asylum seekers will be processed in Australia, some in the community. Political reporter George Roberts in Canberra has the details.
Good morning.
Asserting authority.
Good morning, John, and you've got the only Prime Minister.
As the blame game begins.
This is a failure of responsibility on behalf of Tony Abbot.
The only reason the government has no policy is because of the Prime Minister's stubbornness.
Well, I don't share that with him.
For the first time in more than 80 years, the government faced losing a vote on the floor of the lower house. Even though there was no chance of it getting through the Senate, the government's still angry its favoured asylum seeker policy is stranded.
We are at risk of seeing more boats, more men, women and children getting on leaky boats. And if we do see that, there is one person to blame, Tony Abbot.
She should have known weeks ago that the Malaysia people swap was dead, but she has never had a plan B.
So they haven't come to the real conclusion at the end of the day that onshore processing is the best option.
Now it's the only option. With the Malaysia deal dead in the water, the government's forced into using a combination of bridging visas and limited access to welfare to allow asylum seekers to move into the community.
We're not inclined or we're not intending to open more detention centres. What we want to do is manage the network.
With a history of riots, protests and self-harm, that's proven difficult in the past. From now on, the government will be blaming the opposition for any influx of asylum seekers, but boats aren't the only challenge looming on the horizon. The independent MP Andrew Wilkie's threatened to bring down the government if it doesn't make gamblers nominate how much they're willing to lose on poker machines. But some of Julia Gillard's other key supporters have announced they'd prefer limiting individual bets to $1 or $2 at a time.
We think it's better than the Andrew Wilkie option.
But they're not yet threatening to vote against that option. George Roberts, ABC News, Canberra.